What's up, friends? Today's episode of More or Less marks our season finale. All good things must come to an end, and so does season 3. We have some exciting things up our sleeve for season 4, but to celebrate, we've launched our very first merchandise product. Yep, More or Less merch, it's happening. For the next 48 hours, you can get your hands on our very special More or Less intention candles. We gifted these to each of our guests this season, and now to you. Head to moreorlesswithjess.com by midnight on March 31st to be part of this exclusive drop. I am joined by my new friend, Jack Hayes, a musician from Cincinnati, soon to be hitting the road with Grandson later this year. You may know Jack from his collaboration with Travis Barker, his viral hit Morbid Mind, or his powerful mental health story that he shares today on addiction and loneliness. I do want to preface a quick content warning here, as this episode does reference suicide and substance use. I feel really honored to close out this season with Jack, and I appreciate you all so much for listening, More or Less. Season 3 of More or Less is sponsored by Neuro, enhancing your mind and body one piece at a time. Living in New York City, I spend way too much time and money on coffee and energy drinks, daily supplements, and then splurging on self-care products. Neuro creates supplements that fit your lifestyle instead of the other way around, with nutrients that enhance your health and wellness to something intrinsically convenient, affordable, and portable. With thoughtfully curated ingredients and lab-approved integrity, Neuro has changed the caffeine game for me, since the gum is delicious and the mints leave me feeling fresh and focused. Neuro is always by your side when you need it. Take my word for it and head to getneuro.com now.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jack Hayes, and I'm happy to be here.
Amazing. And the question we ask on this show, our entire conversation is centered around, in this moment, how are you feeling, more or less?
I feel tired, but very good.
Tired, but very good. Okay, so the follow-up is, what do you need more of, and what do you need less of?
Okay. What do I need more of? That's like a loaded question. You know?
It could be emotion,
I
a
could
word.
I could go like emotionally and all spiritual with it, or I could be like super materialistic.
We honor both ends of the spectrum.
Honestly, I need more sobriety. That's what I want.
Okay. And what do you need less of?
Need less noise.
Both of those are, like you said, could go way deeper.
Yeah.
So which do we want to tackle first? The more or the less?
Your choice. You're leading this.
All right. So you're feeling tired, but you're feeling good.
Yeah.
But you need less noise.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, do you mean noise from friends and family, noise outside, noise from the industry?
Honestly, I mean it in the most literal term. Like, I live on a busy street and I just want people to be quiet sometimes. Like, I just literally need less noise. I want to move to like a farm or something.
Where there's nothing.
Where there's absolutely nothing.
And for those listening, Jack lives in DC. So you live on a busy street in DC.
Yeah. You can like see the Capitol building from our window.
Very cool.
So it's pretty hectic sometimes.
Now, what got you to DC? Because you were living in Ohio, right?
Yeah, I was living in Cincinnati.
Okay.
My girlfriend was going to GW.
Nice.
And during the pandemic, I decided to move out there because music had started working out and I just wanted to like move. I didn't have anything tying me down. So I was like, I'll just go out there. We moved to LA, didn't really love it. And so we moved back to DC and we're very happy.
Amazing. So we were talking about it before we started recording, but is there anywhere else you can see yourself living?
Well, I was just talking about I would love to live on a farm one day. That's like my ultimate like retirement goal, is to buy a property and just like play my guitar on my porch all day and like have a cow or some shit.
I was just gonna say, would you have animals?
Yeah, like I like the most literal sense. I want to live on a farm, and then more short term. I would really love to move to Europe before I'm 30.
Very cool.
So like either London or Berlin is somewhere that I'd really want to go.
Nice. All right, before 30, we got time for that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm 24, so 6 years.
Nice. I'm 25, so we're very close in age.
Okay.
So we'll go back to more sobriety. So how are you feeling in terms of your sobriety right now?
Okay. So I just passed 6 months on the 11th. It's my maybe third go around or something like that. And I'm working a really strong program right now, which is awesome. And I can confidently say that I feel better than I've ever felt in my entire life, like consistently. I think there have been times in my life where like the highs have been super, super high and the lows have been really, really low. And right now, it's just like more like leveled out, you know, like
Yeah.
I'll have a really good day and then I'll have like an okay day. And like I might have a bad day every once in a while, but it's never as bad as it was.
So you were going through the extremes.
Yeah, I was really like on like polar opposites of each end.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for like the balance that I have right now in my sobriety. And I feel good. And when I say like I want more sobriety, I don't mean like, oh, I want 10 years. I mean like I want more of whatever this is right now.
Yeah.
Like not so much as time. Like I just want more of this mental state that I'm in.
Well, congratulations on 6 months. That's
Thank you.
Huge. And 6 months will hopefully be another 6 months.
Yeah.
And after that, how do you feel like this time has been different than previous times? Would you credit it to the program you're in?
Yeah, I would credit it to the program I'm in. Before I wasn't in a program. I started going to the program maybe 9 months ago.
Okay.
And there was a 3-month period and then I had a little slip and so I'm back on. And I think the main difference is that I'm like, have you ever heard the phrase I got honest?
Yes.
That's what happened. I'm painfully honest with everybody around me. And when I can't do something, I just like, I'm totally vocal about it. And when I do something wrong, I own up to it immediately. And I'm working through the steps and I have like a group of people that are surrounding me that are going through the same thing that I'm going through. So I would fully credit it to the program.
Awesome. Amazing. And would you say, in talking about getting honest, we're super honest on the show and how we're feeling, and I'm super familiar with addiction and the steps just based on my own family tree. Would you say that you're now more vocal with even your professional team about how you're feeling about something? And does it make you feel better when you say it out loud versus holding it in?
Yeah, I think something in like a professional sense, I would let something go too far before I said something about it. And now, and like it would end up in something that was a lot more dramatic than it needed to be. And now I catch that a lot earlier. And when I feel uncomfortable about something or when I feel like something's not necessarily going in the direction that I'm wanting to, I'm able to like say it in a way more respectful and a way more productive way at a more productive time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned your girlfriend. How long have you guys been together?
Oh my God. Since the end of high school. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah, we've
okay,
been
so she's been with you on this ride for a while.
we met each other when we were like 14.
Oh my goodness. Can I ask about your love story? How did it start?
Yeah, for sure. I was like crushing on her so hard since the moment I met her, but I was like a wee little boy.
At 14?
Yeah, at 14. And I had only ever lived in Cincinnati, and her dad works at a company called P&G. And so she moved around to different countries like every 4 years. So she was all around the world, and she had this like plethora of experience and all this stuff that she went through that I just never related to. And like, I think I was developing a lot slower than she was in kind of every sense. And so, you know, we were like best friends in high school though, even though that was the situation. And she goes off to college, and you know, those like, I didn't go to college at all. And so those first few months of college were super developmental for me because everybody that I knew was going to start their life, and I continued to live in my parents' basement and work at the same restaurant because I was like, I want to do music. And so that kind of drastic change where like everything that I knew and was familiar with was stripped away, but I was still kind of stuck in the same place, like forced me to grow up a little bit. And so the next time I saw her after she moved away for college was this like the Thanksgiving break that she came back for. And I was in like a bad place, and so I tried not to see her, but she just showed up to my parents' house. And that was kind of like where like our relationship started in a romantic sense. And I think it was just because I was like more mature and I was able to like see life in a different way that I was never able to see it before. And I started traveling to DC and like seeing her long distance. And then we were long distance for the longest time, and I would go to DC every month, or she would come to Cincinnati. We would kind of switch off. And then the pandemic happened, and she like came home for spring break, and she was staying at my house, and the pandemic hit, and they closed her school down, and so she got stuck in Cincinnati with me and lived out of a suitcase for 6 months. Wow. And at the time, her parents were living in Geneva, so she didn't have anybody to live with except for me at my house.
Wow.
And my house was not like a night, like it was a pretty rough situation. So we went through a lot in that time. And by the time that they opened up her school again, and it had been 6 months, and she was going to go back to school, and I was like, I can't, like,
after that,
I can't go back to living by myself and doing this long distance thing. So I just followed her to DC basically.
Wow.
And then it's been like 3 years since then.
And now you've just been creating a life together.
Yeah.
DC. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So she's been with you pretty much your entire journey musically, but also
time.
Mental health too.
Yeah, for sure.
So how was your, this is a stupid question, how was your mental health over the pandemic?
Drunk.
Yeah.
The entire time, or high. Like I just drank so much over the pandemic.
And so it was you guys in your parents' basement?
No, so by the time that the pandemic hit, I was living in a house in like this little town called Northside in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And I wasn't really talking to my parents much.
Okay.
So I actually, like, side note is I kind of put my parents in the position where they had to kick me out. I say, because I could say, oh, my parents kicked me out, but like in reality, I was a piece of shit and they should have kicked me out. But like maybe 5 or 6 months after I graduated high school, they kicked me out of the house. So I went from their house to by the winter time of like everybody's freshman year of college, I was living in a house in like downtown Cincinnati with like a bunch of people that I was making music with. And then I ended up in like an unfinished basement. And then after that, I ended up in this house that was like owned by one of the local venue owners that I would like do shows at. Yeah. And he like rented out this house to me.
And you were what, 17 or 18 at the time?
Yeah, I was 18 when I got kicked out. And then like that was up until I was 21.
And would you say that was probably the worst that your mental health has been, or the worst in your recovery?
No, I think my worst that my mental health has been was like when I was either when I first moved out to DC or when I first moved to LA. Like I wouldn't like.
Oh, the environment changed.
Yeah, the environment changed, and I like was trying to quit drinking, but I wasn't in a program, which is like the worst thing to do if you're like really an alcoholic. I think that's like.
Were you trying to go cold turkey?
I was just like, I'm just gonna stop.
And I mean, you're young.
Yeah.
And you're at an age that.
And I was like alone, and I was kind of disconnected from my family at the time. I would say it was better, and like it was like pretty bad when I first moved out to DC, but where it really got bad was when I moved to LA. Yeah. And I was going through a super stressful time. I was dropping this like project, and there was a lot of stress around it, and I felt like this immense pressure to perform. And I just needed some kind of structure, and that's like something that my program brought me.
You need routine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how do you apply routine now on a day-to-day?
I like wake up and I meditate and I cook breakfast and I read out of this little book that has like a daily, like there's a different passage for each day. I go to a meeting basically every single day. If not in person, I'm on one in Zoom. Mm-hmm. Like I was on the bus over here, I was on a Zoom meeting. I call my sponsor every day. I call a random alcoholic every day. It's like really just like trying to keep in, like, it's not like, oh, at 9 a.m. I do this and then at 10:30 I do this. It's like I just make sure that I cross these things off the list every day.
You have a checkbox you need.
And it's not like, oh, I need like every day I need to make a TikTok and post on my socials and practice guitar. It's like every day I need to make sure that I'm maintaining contact with this program.
Yeah.
Because that's like my line to a good mental health.
And that's what keeps you thriving and surviving, quite literally.
For sure. And that's what makes me like able to do things that I need to do for work, like post on socials and practice guitar and stuff like that.
So given that you're heading out on tour soon.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
What will that look like for you? I mean, your days are going to be different traveling, and we just spoke about how the environment threw you off a little bit in the past. But I'm sure touring also has those extremes of being really high on adrenaline, but then also times of isolation.
Yeah. So I've been on 2 now. I was on a week-long tour it was like 2 weeks and 5 shows in January of 2022, I think. And then, it was 2022. And then in November of this year, I was on a month-long tour that was like a nationwide tour. So I've gotten to see what it's like to be on the road for an extended period of time now. And it's like basically the same time period that I'm doing in the summer. So I kind of have a list of like do's and don'ts. Like don't get excited and stay up until 5 a.m. when you know you have to get in the bus the next day and drive 8 hours and do a show, because it's never going to go well. And also like there were like the first 2 weeks I'd stayed super in touch with my program, and then when you like when everything's going so good and you feel so good and you feel like you can just let go for a second,
think you need it anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened. And I just kind of got to this place where I was like, I wasn't calling my sponsor, I wasn't reading my books, I wasn't going to meetings. And I remember like the show ended in Cincinnati, and so I saw one of my good friends from Cincinnati, and like I actually just saw him a couple weeks ago, and he was like, man, like when I saw you, you just like seemed like the life had been sucked out of you. And I was like, yeah, like basically. So I know it's not so much like what I need to not do. It's like I know what I need to do to make sure that I don't lose my shit on tour. Because
ultimately, you get to tour for a living and do what you love. And you don't want the people that knew you growing up saying that to you.
No, exactly. It was kind of like like I knew it, but I didn't realize that it was so apparent to other people.
Yeah.
You can like even kind of see it in like, I like do a vlog series when I'm on tour. You can even see it like I'm like so bubbly at the beginning of the vlogs, and by the end of the vlogs, I have laryngitis and I'm just like super, super tired in every vlog. Like there's like no twinkle in my eye. Like that sounds corny, but it's just like
it's true.
The way that it was. And it was just like, I felt like I was doing so well that I just like kind of let taking care of myself take a backseat.
Yeah. So when you got home from that tour, what changed?
I think I slept for like 3 days when I got home from the tour. I was in bed for so long, and I didn't want to touch my guitar, which is always kind of a bad sign. Like I love playing the guitar, so I know when I'm like not feeling like doing that, it means that there's definitely something wrong. And it took me a while to get back into like a routine of calling my sponsor every day and getting into the meetings. And even my sponsor told me, he was like, you can't do that. Like that's just a fast track to doing something that you're gonna regret. And I understood that, but it was just like, it was really hard. I almost felt this like shame that I had let go so hard. And I was like, I just kind of like let my pride get in the way of getting back to what I needed to get back to for a little bit.
But I'm sure a lot of people, even listening to this, if they're struggling with addiction, like there is that element of shame that comes with having a slip or, feeling like you took 10 steps forward and 1 step back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that's a really, I think, natural thing to happen, unfortunately, but it takes a huge heightened self-awareness to acknowledge that it is on you.
And it's like as soon as you do get back to it and you kind of let go of that shame, or not even let go of the shame,
accept it almost.
Once you accept it and like admit it, it goes away. And it feels like this weight comes off of your chest, and all of a sudden you're sleeping better and you're eating better and you're able to like...
Because you're not fighting it.
Exactly.
You're not fighting the reality that you've almost been suppressing by not acknowledging what is reality.
For sure.
Because I think for folks listening, and again, I'm not a licensed mental health professional, but addiction is very much in your mind, and
Mm-hmm.
you can have a different perception of reality than the people around you, and it kind of takes, you know, your own inner truth to come out and acknowledge that you need help, or acknowledge that this is not a life that you want to live, and no one else around you can do that except for you.
Yeah. And it can like feel like shameful, but also like embarrassing. They're like similar words, but they mean totally different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think especially in like today's society, it's like there's like some sort of shame in being weak almost, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what it feels like, is like, oh, like I was outside of my home for a month, and like basically everything that I had built up to that point went to shit, and it feels like this like weakness that I wasn't able to like maintain what I had when I was going to sleep at 9 p.m. every day, and I had like, you know, a meeting right down the street that I could go to every day. But it's like I can't be so hard on myself. Obviously, there are going to be some things that change when I'm living out of hotel rooms in a van for a month. Like, I can't get down on
Yeah.
myself for that.
Yeah. It's part of life almost, and as you know, this is a daily challenge, and it's a choice almost every day to wake up and choose a lifestyle that you feel is fulfilling.
Yeah.
And if that means meditating and going to a meeting, then so be it. And I'm so happy that that's your priority, because not every artist nor person would advocate for that.
Yeah.
They may still be in that place of shame, or that place
Mhm.
of even denial. It's very common. And I mean, LA especially, you can get wrapped up in very different lifestyles. It's natural out
Yeah.
there to just go wild, if you
It's
will.
natural to go wild, but it's crazy. I found the program in LA, and it's crazy the juxtaposition, because
I'm sure.
there's such good recovery out there. So it's like it's weird seeing these two completely different sides of the city. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where like I could be scared to go back on tour easily. Like I could kind of cower away from that because of how it went last time. But though, I mean, more than anything, I'm just excited to like go give it another shot and like prove to myself that like if I apply these things that I know and that I've learned from the last time, that I can do it, and I can like, obviously it was successful statistically and it went well from like on paper,
Of course.
but like I know that it didn't go the way that I wanted it to go because of how I felt during it.
And
So
you couldn't enjoy it fully. So
Yeah,
like you said, although it's
exactly.
success on paper, it's not necessarily a success to you
Yeah,
as a person.
exactly.
Maybe to you as an artist, but maybe not.
So I'm like, I'm excited to go back and do it successfully.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So tell me about your musical journey. Yes, you signed this wonderful record label, Columbia,
Mhm.
and you dropped a project recently. But when did you first pick up the guitar? Because obviously that's very important to you.
Yeah, so I started with drums. So it was like when I was 3 years old, I started drumming in my parents' basement. And my dad was like, he was a bass player, but he could play the drums. So I had this like weird understanding of rhythm really early on. And so I drummed for a really long time, and then I picked up piano. Like I took piano lessons and I would do recitals and all that. In 4th grade, I started doing that. And then in 8th grade, my piano teacher quit doing piano lessons because she was just saving up to save up for vet school. Um, so, and I was like best friends with my piano teacher. We still message on Facebook.
That's so awesome.
So I didn't want to get another piano teacher after that. I was like, I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. I was really upset. And so I started like, there's this website called ultimateguitar.com, and they have like all the chords for different songs. And I just started like playing with my dad's guitar, and I would go and I learned all the chords through chord diagrams on this website. And it came really easily because I think guitar is a mixture of the piano and the drums because it's so rhythm based. Like this hand is all rhythm and it's all percussion, and then this hand is very similar to playing the piano. So it made a lot of sense to me, and it kind of connected with me more than any, like at this point I had been playing saxophone in band, and I'd been playing piano for 5 years and the drums for 10 years or whatever, and like I just never felt like this is my instrument. But when I started playing guitar, it was all I wanted to do.
That was the light bulb that went off.
Yeah, exactly. It was incredible. I love guitar. And then, I was playing into high school, and my high school offered this class called Music Tech, which they taught you how to use GarageBand in the first class, and then in the second class they taught you how to use Logic.
Oh, sick.
And so I am in the class for 2 weeks, and my dad like played gigs with the teacher of the class. He was like a local musician.
Yeah.
So they were really good friends, and so I knew the teacher before I came into the class, and he put me on Logic probably 2 weeks into the class while I was supposed to be learning
Nice.
GarageBand in. So I learned production, and I kind of just lost interest in the guitar and like became obsessed with producing music and making like hip hop beats. And that's kind of like where my interest in songwriting began.
And what kind of artists were you listening to at that time? Who was influencing hip hop?
I was like really into 21 Pilots, but then also like J. Cole and Kendrick, but then also like J-Rock, and I was super into Biggie Smalls, and like it was all over the place. I was never like somebody who would dive into people's catalogs.
Yeah.
But I would find a sound or a song that I really liked, and I would like focus in on that and try to figure out how they did it. So it was more on the production side. Like I learned how to sample from watching a video of J. Cole do it in his tour bus. And like I still use that same technique to chop up
That's so
samples and
cool.
stuff in my home studio. Like I send out beat packs to rappers all the time.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Like I'm working with like some smaller people right now, and I'm trying to like kind of scale that out a little more because I just love making beats so much, and I do it in my free time. I'm like, I might as well make this happen. But basically like production took me into writing songs, and then that took me into making my own beats and writing my own lyrics and recording my own songs and dropping them on SoundCloud. And that took me all the way up until I turned 21, and I like kind of felt like I had hit a plateau with what I was making on my computer, and I like picked up the guitar again, and probably within 15 minutes I wrote like the song that made it for me, which was Morbid Mind, which was like crazy. So it felt like a really big full circle thing, and I had all the knowledge of how to record myself, so I was able to record and produce that myself too.
Awesome. That's so cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. And then I was like in love with the guitar again, and I like started taking, my uncle has his like doctorate in guitar. He's a professor.
Oh my God. Wow.
So I started taking like jazz lessons from him, just to like, because I feel like if you know jazz guitar, you can kind of do whatever the hell you want.
You can do anything.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been doing for the past 2 years. And like now I'm like a better guitar player than I could ever dream to be.
So it sounds like music has been an outlet for you since you were very, very small.
Yeah.
And, we talked a little bit about it, but when you're 18, the people around you are choosing what they want to do next, hypothetically.
Yeah.
And what was that for you? Because at this point, you were really good at making beats.
Mm-hmm.
Was music the North Star for you?
Yeah. So basically, when I graduated high school, I graduated with like a 1.6 GPA or something like that. I was like barely able to graduate, and my parents were like, it's not that we're not gonna make you go to college, it's that we're not gonna let you go to college because we know that you're just gonna like go to college and fuck around. Basically, we know this isn't what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, you have a year to figure out music, and you can live in our basement while you do that. And if by a year comes around and you haven't made something out of this music shit yet, then you have to like go to trade school or like do something else.
So they put that timeline in place.
They put that timeline. And then 5 months into that, I was just like coming home shit-faced every night, and I was like smoking weed all the time, like in their basement.
Yeah.
And just like kind of just like being a degenerate, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't doing anything with my life. I thought I was, because I was like still making beats, but like I had no direction. I was just like making
Did you have any motivation?
Yeah, I was like, because I was coming home from the studio
Yeah.
really fucked up. because I was like, it was like during that time when all these rappers were coming out and they were taking pills, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what you saw.
yeah, exactly. And so basically, when they kicked me out, I moved into the house that I was like that I would be at every night. And I kind of like lost touch with my parents for a little bit. Like obviously I only lived like 30 minutes away from them. So obviously I would see them maybe like once a month or something, or I would get on the phone with my mom every once in a while, but I like completely just like lost touch with my family. And um I didn't have any financial support from anybody, so I was like in a really rough situation. And that's kind of like, once that year mark came around, it was like kind of too late for them to tell me like, oh, you need to go to trade school or you need to do this. But it got to the point where I was living in that basement for like a year, and one day my power got cut off or something like that, and I owed the electric company like $2,000. And I called my mom just like in the worst state. I was like withdrawing. I couldn't afford. I was taking a lot of pills at the time. Couldn't
And like
afford
you
to.
said, you were going cold turkey.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't even trying to get sober yet. I just like couldn't afford to
You
keep
just
up with the
couldn't
habit.
do it
And
anymore.
my electric was cut off. I hadn't taken a shower in like 3 days. I didn't have any food. So I call her and I'm just crying, and she comes and picks me up and she takes me out to lunch. And like right across from the house that I was living in was this community school called Cincinnati, or like Cincinnati Community College or something like that. And they have one of the best culinary programs like in the Midwest. It's called the Midwest Culinary Institute. And I was working in a restaurant at the time, and my mom just like looks out the window and she sees it, and she's like, like if you just go to culinary school, we'll pay we'll pay your rent for as long as you're in culinary school, and then you can like have enough time to go to culinary school, work for a little bit, get a better cook job when you get out of culinary school, and like hopefully you won't be in this situation when you get out. And I was just like, yeah. And so we pulled in and we applied right there, and like 2 days later I heard out that I got in, because like it's not that hard to get into culinary school. So for the next 9 months I was in culinary school. It was only a 9-month program, and I stopped taking pills while I was there because I couldn't show up to class high or they would like embarrass me. But like, I mean, I got super into drinking while I was in culinary school, because that's kind of what you do in the restaurant industry. And so when I got out, I got like a job that paid a little better, and I was able to move into the house that Chala moved into me with eventually. And like, just obviously it wasn't a great situation, but it was way better than the situation that I was in. And I kept making music because I kind of knew like I'm not gonna be a chef. Like I would rather do anything than be a chef for the rest of my life, even though I love cooking. Like I didn't want to work in a restaurant. And so I just kind of like all my time outside of my restaurant job would be either playing shows or making music. And like eventually it paid off. And I always say it's funny because like everybody went to college for 4 years, and I worked on music for 4 years. And by the time that everybody was graduating college, I was signing my record deal the same month.
Yeah, ugh, that's so wild.
I know.
That's very full circle that it happened in that timeline.
It's super wild. And so like I went back to my high school and spoke to my music teacher, and he like wants me to come to my high school and speak about this.
Are you gonna do it?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. He's like, there's so many kids here that think that the only path for them is college, and it's just not.
It's
Like
not.
if you work on it for 5 years and you're really dedicated and you have a vision for it, like odds are you can make it happen, especially with the way that social media is today.
Yeah.
It's like it's so reachable right now.
No path is traditional anymore, and I think your story speaks to that. And it's unbelievable what you've created for yourself, because that's on you, and you should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Really, really inspiring, and I'm sure anyone listening to this is going to feel some inspiration, especially those kids when you go talk to them. I think that's unbelievable, because I think there's something about that even if you were in high school and you saw someone that made it per se from your town, like it just feels different, and it's a motivating factor.
It was like weird because I think one of the reasons that I struggled so much with drugs, and like I struggled so much mentally during that time, is because I felt like what I was doing was the wrong decision. And I think if anybody that I looked up to, from the school that I was going to my parents, to like just basically any adult figure told me like I was on the right path the same way that they would if you were in college, that I wouldn't have gotten as bad as I did during that time.
Well, I think it comes back to what we were saying before. There's an element of shame or guilt or embarrassment when you're not doing what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not always validated from the outside world, especially in your case when your electricity is cut off and the world has gone to shit.
Yeah, and like everything on the outside is showing me that what I'm doing is not right.
Correct.
And like I need to do something else.
Yeah, nothing about that is making you feel better about it.
But then like something else seems like the worst option. I like literally made a plan to not be alive anymore if I didn't make it in music. By the time I was 25, I was like, if I don't get to where I want to be and I'm still doing what I'm doing right now, I'm just gonna end it, because it's like there's nothing that I want to do, and like that I just made that timeline, and so I'm like grateful that I was able to make it work in the time, because like the life that I'm having right now is like, I mean, I would never want to miss out on it. It's incredible.
And I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're with us and making music. And I know your fans and everyone's going to see you on the road is grateful you're here. And I think your story is really incredible. And more people need to hear that kind of honesty, because even you started off this conversation saying, like, I could say my parents kicked me out of the house, but I didn't give them a choice. Like,
yeah.
Not everyone would say that. Not the narrative is typically not like that. So yeah. I appreciate your honesty, and it really means a ton. We always close out this podcast by asking, what is one thing you've done this week, or even today? You mentioned it already, but one thing you've done this week to take care of your mental health and well-being.
I went to a meeting on the bus ride here. But that's like an easy thing. Okay, so
it counts though.
I was on my way to the metro station to take the metro to get onto the bus to come to New York. And the metro got canceled, and the bus was gonna leave in like 10 minutes. And so I'm like trying to figure out how I'm gonna get to the bus station, and I'm calling Ubers, and and the Uber is gonna get me to the bus station at 9:35, and the bus leaves at 9:30.
Of course.
And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna miss this bus. Like, I'm not gonna make it to the podcast. And I'm like freaking out, and I'm really getting in this horrible headspace. And I say this thing that we always say is like, I accept the things I cannot change. Yep. I have the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it calmed me down, and I got in my Uber, and I got to the bus station at 9:36 when it was supposed to be already gone, and the bus hadn't even shown up yet. And it's like,
the universe works in mysterious
like, why was
ways.
I so worried? You know, it didn't show up till like 9:45. Like, why was I free? I'd spent so much time like worrying.
And it was also not in your control in the first place.
It was not in my control at all. And then as soon as I let go of control and just like stopped worrying about it, everything worked out. So
right. Because at the end of the day, yeah, shit always happens. Like, it's going to continue to happen. And life, it's corny, but life is, you know, how you choose to react to what happens to you. And that's a perfect example. So thank you for making it here. Holy cow.
Thanks,
I didn't know that backstory.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here. And thank you so much for stopping by the podcast. We appreciate it.